Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger and my friends. Here we are today talking about Street Fighter 6, and I sort of want to talk about the state of Street Fighter 6 as it's going on right now, going into Season 3. And I know Season 3 is a whiles out just yet, but even then, it's not as far out as you think. It's probably going to be May. A few things to talk about, but a big one, and this has been an ongoing issue, was actually sparked by the little mini trailer you're seeing here. So, hey, it's a new battle pass. We always have new battle passes, new avatar costumes, and of course, when it comes new avatar costumes means no regular costumes. It's certainly a topic that has been gone over before in many places, but I think it bears at least one more final discussion. And there is other things to talk about besides that, but I figure let's start there just because good a topic as any. So to be blunt, we've been here before. This is something we talked about months ago, and months have gone by, and nothing's changed. It's now been over a full year. It's been over 400 days since the last costume for Street Fighter 6. Considering for Street Fighter 4 and especially Street Fighter 5, that costumes and cosmetic DLC were the lifeblood of the game's post-launch support, to see it just completely vaporize in front of our eyes is a bit mind-boggling. And I'll tell you right now, I don't believe this is going to change anytime soon. In fact, I don't believe it's going to change until Season 3. So it's really as simple as this. Our live service game doesn't have much in the way of live service. Cosmetics is generally the primary accepted form of monetization after your game launches, minus whatever DLC characters, and we don't got it here. We got lots of Avatar DLC, sure, and some people argue that the Avatar DLC does so well that that's the reason why there's no other costumes, right? Because why put in the additional effort? And I don't believe that to be true at all, honestly, personally. I'm certain it moves a certain amount of numbers, but it's obvious that the core audience, the audience that buys DLC, is not that ultra casual audience, and the core audience doesn't give a good goddamn about Avatar costumes. Like, hey, I'm a guy who buys every fighting game DLC. I haven't spent 1 cent on Avatar costumes. To me, it's becoming clearer as time moves on, like kind of the real issue, and it's a lot simpler than people think. One, Avatar DLC is just easy to make. It doesn't take a lot of time and effort, sure, versus the much more elaborate costumes. And speaking of those elaborate costumes, I've seen some people say, oh, the game's so incredibly advanced, it's just impossible to get costumes for the game. Well, that's also a big load, honestly. Mortal Kombat 1 has costumes just as good, or if not better, than a lot of the Street Fighter 6 costumes, and they're not hurting on the output. It's not like Capcom created a system that's so advanced that it completely destroyed the monetization of how the last two games worked. It's not like they coded themselves into a corner or something like that. They're not stupid. Like, it comes down to, this is not on Unreal Engine like Street Fighter 5 was, so you can't outsource a lot of the work, which they did in Street Fighter 5. You got to do it in-house. And that is the actual real problem here. Not that every costume is so magically advanced that it just is impossible to make. It's all got to be in-house, and you need people in-house to do it. Can't outsource it. And anyone who can generate assets in the RE engine in-house has bigger fish to fry right now. The reality is almost certainly like everyone's all hands on deck for Monster Hunter Wilds. That's kind of where their bread's gonna be buttered for the next while. Like, Monster Hunter World's success is what paid for Street Fighter 6 to exist in the first place. And frankly, getting this game out the door is a bigger priority than Street Fighter skins. Once again, not Unreal Engine anymore, can't outsource it to other people, at least not as easily. So it's all got to be in-house, and the in-house people are working on the game that's going to make them the money. This is the conclusion I've come to. It's not like any, nefarious plot on Capcom's behalf. They've even stated in interviews that the Outfit 3 is sold very well, even beyond their expectations. Companies like money, but if you only have a limited amount of resources to work with, the thing that's going to make the most money for the work you put in right now is Monster Hunter. Now, that said, should they hire more people? Probably. They've been doing very, very well for themselves over the last few years. Have they made bad decisions? Absolutely. Look at the guest crossover stuff we've had. Spy Family, Ninja Turtles, these should have been actual costumes out of the gate. Not just lobby nonsense. That's a massive fail on their behalf. That's a massive misreading of the room. But what's done is done. And it sort of leads to, well, okay, when does this all get fixed up? And that is probably going to be Season 3. And that now said, let's talk about it, because I believe Season 3 will also double as Super Street Fighter 6. So, Season 3, Super Street Fighter 6. Well, what's going on with that, right? Well, for one, it looks like we're following the same timeline that we did last year because Mai is not coming out this month. That little battle pass there we saw earlier, it's not a Mai pass, so that means there's going to be no Mai because Mai would obviously launch with at least something like that to hype her up. So, at earliest, she'll be February sometime or maybe March. And I know it seems like a long time away, and it is. In fact, that means just like last year, between Aki and Ed was almost 6 months, and that means between Terry and Mai, it'll also almost be 6 months if it is March. But then Elena and May, just like Akuma was in May last year, and that's also the soft launch of the new season. Akuma did launch with the big Season 2 patch after all. So to me, that's just following the logic, right? But why Super Street Fighter 6? Well, if you remember, actually, some years ago, there was the ransomware hack where Capcom, they got hacked, they didn't pay the ransom, so their stuff got leaked. Quite a bit as well. So this is subject to some Japanese-English translations, and obviously the timetable, the scheduling's off because a lot of stuff got internally delayed. Like Street Fighter 6 got delayed internally, and then we had the final season of Street Fighter 5, which was basically both a send-off for a game and also, hey, we gotta buy time till the launch of Street Fighter 6, so this final season is exactly that. This leak is also how we learned about Dragon's Dogma 2 a very long time before it actually got announced. And other things on here, maybe things change, or maybe they just haven't happened yet, I don't know, but this is all very real. This isn't speculation. And on this list is Super Street Fighter 6 and Ultra Street Fighter 6. Now, you may be surprised to learn Street Fighter often gets released with new names in front of it. A Super Street Fighter and Ultra Street Fighter, we've been down these roads before, Arcade Edition, Champion Edition. This is nothing new. So this happening for Street Fighter is not necessarily big news in and of itself, but for a Super Street Fighter 6, Season 3 feels like it's about the right time. Especially if we're going to be doing Ultra Street Fighter 6 somewhere down the road as well, right? Season 3 is the right time. And how do you do a big launch for a Season 3? Well, there's certainly a couple ways to do it, right? Well, one, hey, new characters, sure. Who can be the Season 3 characters? Well, that's probably a video for another day. Maybe they'll debut the Satsui no Honda, the evil version of Honda, because there's always a new character that's just an evil version of someone else. We'll figure it out when we get there. But also, hey, a new big balance patch? Absolutely. People love their big balance patches. One thing I haven't really seen anyone talking about, but it's almost a sure deal, is just new gameplay mechanics. Street Fighter 4 added red focus, Street Fighter 5 eventually added all new V triggers, all new V skills. So definitely something new in gameplay terms besides just, the base balance changes, whatever they may be. It's one of the things that makes a new edition of the game sexy and exciting. It lets you put a new copy on store shelves. It brings in people who haven't played the game yet and they think, oh, new mechanics, cool, now's the time to get in. And it brings in people who were playing the game, but they dropped off for whatever reason, like say throw loops. Maybe Season 3 will finally fix throw loops. Who knows? It is certainly baffling that a universally detested aspect of the game has stayed this long. And hey, maybe for Season 3 Super Street Fighter 6, we're going to do the thing where we wrap around back to the beginning of the video. How about new costumes? At this point, it's been over a year. If there's anything in the tank for costumes, there's actually, other than Goodwill, but we're not going to do that. There's no point to actually just put them out now. Like, you might as well save them for the new big edition and have them be a big part of the party. It's already been so long, you just might as well, really. Monster Hunter will be out and done by then, so you can refocus your efforts. I'm sure there's some stuff in the tank already, and then it just makes everything feel that much more special. But going back to the costume stuff, the point and the reason why this is such a pain point for everyone involved is because Capcom used to be very transparent about all this kind of stuff. Like at the tail end of Street Fighter V's life, they had all these streams, they had these, directs, if you want to call them that, giving us ideas on the state of the game and where the game is going, right? It's a big part of the reason why people considered Street Fighter V such a big turnaround by the end. Hey, the game eventually got good in the end. It's because of stuff like this, the transparency, talking to the player base. Where did that go? Because it's certainly not here in Street Fighter 6, and that is a problem. From being so good and so strong at communicating with your fan base to like actual silence, that is a big issue. Now, granted, to be fair, there's not the need, if you will, to do it the same way as we did with Street Fighter V, because Street Fighter V, in a lot of ways, was just kind of a disaster. And minus some foibles and some quibbles here and there, for the most part, hey, Street Fighter 6, doing good, people like it. So you don't have to get out in front of the cameras and talk. But boy howdy, say that they did, right? And they show up like, hey, here's the deal about the costumes, talk about it one way or another, and even if you don't like the outcome of what they had to say, at least they said it. Which is certainly better than people like me having to make videos like this wondering what the hell's going on. Capcom was so good about talking to the audience, and I just wish we could kind of go back to that. Just because Street Fighter 6 sold better and is better out of the gate doesn't mean that had to go away. But I guess that all said, that's sort of where we're at right now. So new costumes, been over a year, we're not getting them anytime just soon. We're probably getting them for Season 3, which will probably be Super Street Fighter 6. So then we'll probably get new costumes, we'll get new characters, whoever they may be. Hey, more guest characters? I'm going to say almost certainly. Now that that dam's been broken, I don't think there's any going back. Now, will it stay only in fighting games? Will the Season 3 guest character be like Kazuya or Heihachi? Or will it be like Lara Croft from Tomb Raider and they just go crazy with it? Who knows? Expect guests to stick around though. And of course, as mentioned, probably all new gameplay mechanics as well, and we really just gotta wait and see on that, whatever that could possibly turn out to be. That all said though, that's my thoughts on the matter, and I know you got them too, so hey, feel free to post them in the comments below. That said, thank you very much for watching, hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.